Welcome to Creating Stuff. My name is Jim and welcome to my shop. Today I'm back working on my Inferno build, but this is actually going to do something very specific to this. I don't want to say this is actually part of the build, but this is kind of more or less like a product review. And what I'm doing today is I'm going to do a modification so I can manually shift my automatic transmission. So let's get into it. Well, the product I'm using is made by Rad Design. It's the same company that made the triple stick that you saw me put in the many past videos ago. I put that in Inferno, which works fantastic. I love it. But they make the same one. They're the ones that make this, and it's kind of a very simple kit, and well, simple but not easy to install. But anyways, let's take a look and see what it has. So what they send you in the rail controller is this is a very nice made aluminum switch module. So you can shift from first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear. As you can see, it's gated in here. So you can either push it forward or pull it back, and it's only going one gear. So they did a very good job. And since this transmission is electronically controlled, it makes it very easy, because the three wires, you have power coming in, and then you have two outputs that go to the two shift solenoids. And the combination of those two solenoids will give you your four gears. So you have both solenoids off, one solenoid on, the other off, the second solenoid on, the first one off, or they're both on. Those are four combinations for 4 gears. So, in all honesty, this is actually pretty ingenious. I just wish I would have thought of it. I'm also adding this switch. It's a double pole, double throw rocker switch, because basically the transmission shifts perfectly fine with ECM for normal driving or for certain applications. That works really well. But and I want to keep that. I don't want to get rid of it. So with this, with a flip of a switch, I can switch from automatic mode to manual. And when you're running triple low range and ungodly gear reduction and doing rock crawling, it's very nice to be able to control exactly which gear you're in. Because just when I've been driving this truck around, playing with the low gears in it, this is the very first time I've had a crawl box with an automatic. And there's been a few times the automatic has acted a little funky, and the reality of it is, it has so much reduction. It just, I mean, because it has speed sensors through the input shaft of the transmission, output shaft, and the tail shaft of the rear transfer case. It's getting reductions that doesn't make sense to it. So I've had a few times the ECM has gone haywire, and even if I pull the transmission down and manually select first gear, it still has had some issues. So I'm looking very forward to trying this. So so anyways, well, let me get to it. All right, closer inspection at the rail controller. You can see the gates in there for the switch. I've actually looked I did not take this apart, but I looked inside, and the man who designed and made this, pretty ingenious. I'm very impressed with it. I like this. So, but for the most instructions he has them labeled 12 volt positive. Then you have solenoid 1, and you have solenoid 2. So, like I said, very simple. So, and now you say, how do I figure out which one is which? Well, I hope you know how to read wiring diagrams. So, basically, in here, solenoid 1 is a yellow and violet wire. Solenoid 2 is a light green wire. All they do is go back to the ECM. So I'm going to install this switch so I can take the computer output is going to go to one side of the switch, the rail controller is going to go to the other side of the switch, and then the center part of the 2 wires from the center part of the switch are going to go down here to the solenoids. So so that should work well in theory, but the only way to figure that out is to do it. So tell you what, let me get the truck up in the air and I'm going to start chasing down some wires. Now I got the truck up in the air, and here, this is the plug that has all the connections for the solenoids. So now I'm just going to pull some slack out of this, trim that sheathing back, and start see if I can identify the wires and start building the harness. Time to get to it. All right, if you haven't figured out yet that I'm not the white lab coat kind of mechanic, I hate to disappoint you. I'm not. Unfortunately, my motto is, if you're going to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. So, anyways, this looks a little confusing, a little catastrophe right now, but let me explain to you. Hopefully, it will make sense. So, right here, this is the pigtail where I'm going to split the harness, or the 2 wires that are coming down to the solenoids. I'm going to cut them both, and I'm going to splice them in. And basically, these wires are going to take the ECM signal up to my switch, and this is going to be bringing down whatever control, whether it's ECM or manual. So that's going to get splicing the harness down at the transmission. That will go into this harness, which will go up to the manual shifter and the mode select button. And I always like to have a backup plan, is because whatever I'm wiring up in the truck for the shifter, worst case scenario, if it fails and I'm in a bad way, I made this pigtail. This is just a loop. So basically, if my wiring fails completely up in the cab and transmission won't work in manual or automatic, I can unplug this harness, and I can plug this pigtail in, and then the system will work like none of that was up there, like I did not do anything. So I always like to have a plan B and a plan C. So, and then this is the harness I put together for the shifter. Is basically this rocker switch right here is it's in automatic, and that's manual. So all this does is select the source for the signal for the solenoids is either coming from the ECM in this switch, or it's coming from this switch in manual mode. So and then when it's in manual mode, 1, 2, 3, and 4th gear. So pretty exciting. So tell you what, I gotta tidy this stuff up, loom it up, make it look pretty. But I'm gonna go splice this pigtail into the harness, because that's the first step I got to do. Let me get back to work. All right, I got all the wiring done on the underside of the truck. So this is my harness with my ECM feed coming up and my output feed going down. So now I just got to size up, cut the harness off where I want it, and splice in the automatic manual switch and the manual shifter. So let me get back to it. Well, I got the rail controller and the mode selection switch. They are all wired in and it's ready to test. So only thing left to do is pull it outside and try it. Let's do it. apologize ahead of time. I apologize ahead of time that I don't have a convenient spot to put the camera in the cab of this truck. I don't have a piece of metal to put a magnet on, and that's it. So you're just gonna have to deal with a shaky camera for this. But anyways, so now I want to verify that the transmission still works the way it's supposed to. And so since I'm on my private road, I don't have enough room. I'm gonna have to simulate a little bit of speed, and I'm gonna stick it down into a single low range. And second, third, and fourth. All right, transmission still works. Still works exactly as it is intended to. So now I'm going to do a demonstration to see if the manual mode works. And I have actually, I'm now on my driveway, and I'm gonna actually shift into a nice low gear to hopefully get a feel for it. I'll tell you what, rather than the low gear, I'll just do the same thing. I'm going to stay in my single low, and here is my switch. I just switched into manual mode. Now I'm gonna hit the throttle. Yep, that feels like first gear. I'm gonna go to second gear. Oh, she's working a little bit harder. That should be third gear. Still working harder. Overdrive. That's definitely overdrive. All right. That, unfortunately, you probably can't, I know you can't feel how I feel it, is basically when I was downshifting it. I mean, it was a little hard to tell when I was upshifting it, but when I was downshifting it, basically the truck had no power, and all I did was pull the switch back one gear, and the truck had just a little bit more power, and it kept on going until I got all the way down to first. And I got to tell you, it was very smooth. I didn't feel any of the shifts. No, that was smooth as can be. So I'm gonna say that's working pretty well. And so I'm going to mess around with it a little bit more, and I will come back and close out this video. I think it's getting high time that I need to plug the hole in this floor. So you're gonna have to see it, wait for a future video for that one. Well, that worked exactly as anticipated. It worked like a champ. It did exactly what Rad Design said it would do. And the one thing I do want to add, they do have a disclaimer that for OBD2 vehicles, which this one is, you'll throw a check engine light because it doesn't see the shift solenoids. And it did. I didn't show you the check engine light, but it did throw a check engine light. And the only other thing I noticed is when I was playing around in the manual mode, when I went to shift back into automatic, it got hung up in fourth gear. It got hung up in a very high gear, and I actually had to shut the truck off and start it back up so the ECM could start over fresh. And as soon as I did that, it picked up right where it's supposed to be. So minor hiccup. If that's the worst I got to do, so be it. But all in all, it worked out really well. I was able to manually shift whatever gear I want. The only downside of this is, since you're shifting the solenoids more or less just like the computer, instead of the computer, how do I say this? You just it works great, you just don't have engine braking like if you pull the transmission manually down into low. And that's just because it's working on it when you're in drive, it's working on a one-way clutch, and it won't engine brake. And if you pull it down into manual low, system won't work, just because it's used because you're hydraulically engaging the gear instead of electronically. But the reality of it is, I think that's livable. I will take the trade-off for when I'm going uphill. I can have ultimate control over what gear the transmission I'm in. The triple low crawl box works so much better. Like I said, because even before in automatic mode, in triple low, if I locked it down in manual, it would still shift a second gear on me. It wouldn't stay down in low. It'd still shift a second gear just because it was so low. But now when I put it in first gear in triple low, it stays there. And it's awesome. And the truth of it is, the only true test that this is gonna have is when this truck gets gears, lockers, a front drive shaft, and a set of tires. And when I get to that point, I can actually take the truck off-road and start rock crawling with it. That's going to be the real test on how well it works. So, and just as a teaser, to stick around my channel, I have something I'm going to do even in addition to this, because like I said, this is a manual shift controller, but that manual shift controller, that actual switch, is actually going to be a backup for another system I'm working on. This is something else that I've been working on since I had an idea rattling around my head since high school. And but unfortunately, I'm going to have to keep you in suspense on that. If you want to see what that is, you're going to have to come back at a later date. I don't know when I'm going to be doing it, but it will be in the future. So if you liked everything I do on this channel in this video, and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. And if there's anybody that you can share this with who'd like it, please share it. I'd love to get some more views on my videos. I'd love to, if I could find a good niche for people to watch my videos. So, ultimately, and in the end, I mean, the reason I'm doing these videos is for you, to give you inspiration, to give you, I mean, just to help you in any way I can. So that's why I'm doing them. So, but until next time, be creative.